Does everyone have a paper? Hopefully you guys have 2 sheets. So give me a little feel in the room. How many of you guys are, where are you at in your college career? Are you sophomore? Sophomores? Raise your hand. Juniors? Okay, majority juniors. Seniors? Okay, juniors, a lot of this can apply to you, but seniors, you better get on the ball. What we're going to cover today, did they tell you what you come to this for? You on the job seminar? No, don't be shy. Extra credit. There's a catch. There's always a catch. My name is Tracie Welch-Brenton, and I'm with Houston Business Journal. Basically, what we have done is we have created a program where we go to the schools and we show students, more specifically in the business schools, how to use our products, the business journals, to do things like find jobs, learn about companies, and also get some of the real-world experience of what it's like in business. Most of you guys have been studying pretty hard in the business school here, but the thing is you've got to transfer that knowledge to what really do the accounting practices look like? Or what does general business management look like in today's world? What do we really see out there? And you've got to make sure that you're well-rounded and you have a feel for all of it. What I'm going to do is introduce you to the business journals and show you how to utilize that, more specifically for job searches, but it can be used for anything about learning about businesses, how they run, and giving you some knowledge. Who are the top companies? Who are the key players? And how to locate the people you may want to work for in your future. Lamar University, probably about 4 years ago, purchased a program for the students where you have access to 43 business journals that we have all over the country. So if you decide you don't want to stay in Beaumont, as great as it is, that you want to go to Houston or Dallas or wherever it is you want to go to another city, we have actually other cities where you get information on that as well and can decide, is it worth going to another city or do you want to stay here in Texas and work? Let's go ahead and talk about the reality of what are we going to cover. Yeah, it's another seminar. I know you guys have to sit through a lot of hours of the talking heads. But one of the things we're going to cover is how to really find a job. What is the kind of job you want and really isolate. You know, there's a difference between wanting a true career path and just wanting a paycheck. We're going to try to isolate the two. The other thing is we're going to show you how to find top companies and stories on them. So that when you go into an interview, you actually know about the company. You might know who the executive is. And you have information. You're not just going into an interview going, hey, I think I'm the greatest new graduate you've ever seen. Hire me. You actually come forward with information. I was going to show you what you're worth. That's probably the biggest shocker to most people is they think they're worth $1 gazillion. I finally got my degree. I'm worth this. But showing you how to find what is your market rate based on years of experience and the city that you live in. It's also understanding cost of living adjustments, the difference between Houston and New York City, and that, yeah, you may make 6 figures in New York City, but if your cost of living is going to cost you so much to live, actually Texas may be a better place to find a job. We're also going to look for tips. We're going to talk about what do you go through before preparation for the interview, during the interview, and then what do you do after the interview. Because, you know, interview is the hardest part, and the reality is you only get one shot. How many of you guys have heard first impressions are everything? Okay. You should always try to make a great first impression. That's the #1 key. And really in interviews in this day and age, you really get one chance to close that deal. So we're going to talk about what do you need to do in those stages to help you prepare to become someone who is lasting and in their memory and also does the right things in closing the sale, so to speak, when you're wanting that job. You know, one of the things I want you to start thinking about are some of the questions we have up here. Have any of you guys isolated? I'm going to give you a show of hands. Have any of you guys determined if you want to work for a really big company? Decided you want to work for a big one? Yes, if you. How about ones that I have no idea who, I just want a job? No? Okay. Well, one of the things you've got to ask for, you really need to think about this and put it into the context of something you might be familiar with. Do you want to be, when you're sitting in class, say you're sitting in a class of 100 people, are you that person that wants to be heard? Are you the person always raising your hand saying, hey, I want to make a difference, I want to be heard, I want to be the leader of the class? If you are, you might think it might be a smaller company where your voice can be heard. You're a bigger company, not to say your voice won't be heard, but it is diluted. You've got a lot of people in a big department. So you need to think about, do you fit better in humongous teams? Like, for instance, if you're an accounting team, if you're an accounting team of 20, would you be happy? Or an accounting team of 3? The accounting team of 3, you may have a bigger voice to say, here's the things that happen, and you need to determine what makes you happy. What will make you the happiest, and then through that, determine, is it the big company that's right for you, or is it the smaller company? And as I always say, it's the big fish in a small pond or the other way around. You've got to decide which one you are and understand that. You've got to decide what city you want to work in. How many of you guys want to stay in Beaumont? Okay. Okay, you chose Beaumont as a great area. It's actually redeveloping. The Golden Triangle has got some great development going on. We're actually covering it a lot right now. So there is big stuff happening right in your area right here. So don't rule it out. But you've got to decide what city you want to live in. One of the things, how many of you guys have traveled to New York City? Okay. For those of you who've had, you'll see a typical place there to stay, especially in Manhattan. You have about 800 square feet, maybe 1,000 square feet. You have a Murphy bed that pulls down, and literally your bed's almost in your kitchen. Something like that can run you $3 and $4 grand a month just for your living. So you think, oh, I'm going to make all this money, I'm going to be in New York City. The reality is, no, you're not. You're not going to have much take home. Plus, you have to go through public transit and things like that. Nobody really has cars because guess what it costs you to park? You'll spend $100 to $200 or more a week just parking. So you got to think about these things. What city do you want to live in where you get the most money that you take home and your standard of living? Do you want a bigger space, a bigger house, or do you like the city where you're like sardined in there and it's cool because you got the hubbub of the city? You got to think about those things and start determining that. You know what I do here. Tech guy, help me out. What I push. Start thinking about what does it seem. What do you? Yeah, there we go. What do you really want? What do you really want to do, and what do you want to accomplish in that? Also, what are your long-term goals? You know, the biggest thing is we see right now. If you guys don't know this, you guys are millennials. Do you guys know what a millennial is? Do you? Hmm? Okay. I'm a Generation Xer. You know, the yuppie, we had the old, the baby boomers. Then we had the Xers, then you had Y, and then right now we have millennial. You guys need to understand what a millennial is. You need to understand where you fit in the workforce. We realize what your mentality is. Xers operate one way. Boomers operate another way. Millennials operate another way. You know, the millennials, let's go ahead and define the millennials. They're free spirits, they're free birds. Typically, a millennial, you're good to have them for about 2 years. And then they want to move around. They also like freedom. They don't like you're coming in at 8 and you're leaving at 5. They want a little bit more freedom and different things like that. You've really got to understand a little bit about business and how you fit into that model. Most of you guys are in the millennial world and you're going to think and act that way. You understand how corporate environment is going to work with you. There's quite a few articles, so look up millennials in business and see what you see. You can ask, what are your long-term goals and how does that company fit? Knowing you're a millennial, they're going to have probably a short-term expectation for you to stay, just because you're in that era of, I want to shift, I want to own it, it's my world and I'm in control. That's what we see of millennials. I'm going to go get my feet wet. How many of you guys anticipate your first job, you'll stay a few years and just get your experience? Let me show hands. Okay. Don't be shy. It's very common that people go in, they'll spend a few years and get experience. But you ask yourself, what is that first job going to do to position you to the next position? Where is it going to get you to your long-term goal? If you say, I want to be an Exxon or a Shell Oil top executive, what is it going to take you to get there? What kind of companies are you going to have to work with to get there? So think about your long-term goal and what is your strategy? Just like how many of you guys have taken any kind of like strategical analysis or anything like that in business? Has anyone? Have you guys taken it? Anyone not here? You have to do the same thing. You're going to have to understand what is it that you want to do in your long-term goal. You're going to have to say, if I position with this company here and I get this one on the resume, that's going to put me to the next position. And start developing a plan long-term. what I want to do first is talk about what city do you want to be in. That's the first thing, is decide what city you want to be in. How many of you guys are transient that you don't care what city you're going to be in? Okay. So most of you guys are willing, you're willing to move around and things. What you would do is, first thing you would do is go up and pull up our book of lists. Are you guys familiar with what is a book of lists? No? I'm going to pass a couple of copies around and let you guys take a look. This is a book. We have it. You guys have access in a digital world. What it does is you'll go to each city's book of lists. Just flip through it. It has all the top companies by industry. It'll show you total revenue, number of employees, and who are the top executives, if you guys want to pass it around. And it'll give you a feel for what kind of company might I want to go for. Also, it'll give you a feel for in a certain city. Like a company that's number one in Houston, in Dallas may not be so much. It actually may not even be on the list, even though they're in that city. But the first thing you want to do is identify your cities that you want to target. And then secondly, go get a book list and find out. Then what you want to do is you want to locate, are you want to be in a specific industry type? Like, do you want to be in real estate, for instance? Or do you guys want to be in oil and gas, engineering? Think about the area you want to be. How many of you guys don't care what industry? Go free flow across industry. Okay. How many of you guys are specific to, I want to be in like oil and gas or engineering? Okay. Okay. That's the thing, is you've got to determine that. You also have to be cautious. You know, how many of you guys are into Hollywood? Movies, acting? How many times have you seen an actor and they get typecast? They do a role, and then they do another one like it, and then they can't get out of that model, and that's all you see them as. They're now the bad cop, because that's what they first were. You got to think about that in business. Be careful. Don't become where you're typeset into that exact position, exact type of company, exact type of role, because suddenly no one will touch you outside of that. You got to be a little bit aware of that. If you want to do that, though, it's great. Oil and gas, which is predominant in this area, you have to have experience. In Houston, we're booming right now with all the big companies developing new buildings. If you don't have experience, you can't get in the door. It's almost impossible to get through their door without experience in oil and gas. So that one is where you, yes, you want it, but once you have it, you can go elsewhere. But getting in and breaking in is hard. You almost have to come to universities and things like this just to get through that door. So think about what area do you want to be in, public relations. Then what you want to do is print these lists. You guys can actually go in here, find top accounting firms, law firms, commercial real estate, whatever it is, and print the list. What you want to do then is circle what are some of the companies you're familiar with or you've heard of, if you've heard of any, or do a little research behind the scenes. Biggest thing is that long-term goal, though. You really want to find out in each city, what impact does that company have in that city? Because a company that might be huge in New York may not be so big down here in the South. We have a lot of that going on between north-south of the Mason-Dixon line and things like that, where companies can transition. They're very different. You also want to find out where they're headquartered and where they're based, because where they're based and the closer you are to home base might make a difference on your chance to grow within the company. Okay, this is what a list looks like. You guys are passing it around, but it gives you everything from top executive, number of employees, numbers of years they've been in business, where are they headquartered. Usually they're going to be headquartered in the city where we have them listed. But this is where you actually can identify what kind of company you would go and work for. Next, you want to target the company. Once you've identified a couple of companies that you decide, these are the type of companies that I want to go to work for, what you want to do is go to their website. You can locate that in the book of lists and learn a little bit about the company. How do they look to the outside? How do they market themselves? How do they promote themselves to others? Then what you want to do is see if there's an HR director. Is there a contact person? I'm going to warn you right now, all the jobs that are posted, a lot of them are through social media. There's two ways to skin a cat. You've heard that saying, hopefully. The deal is you can sit and go through LinkedIn with 100 other people and you may or may not get through, or go to the website, find the HR director, and see if you can get a direct shot to the location where you're trying to get a resume through. Send it both ways, because most of them do want you to apply online. Let's see if there's a way to go around it. Call, get the email address of the contact person who would be in charge of the hiring decision. Just shoot an email. Hey, I saw your listing, I've applied through your formal process, but I'd also wanted to get in front of you. Always take a chance to come outside of the norm and stand out. Remember, you only get one shot to do this, so you got to do it right. Another thing is begin researching the company. How many of you guys have been on interviews already? Okay, anyone not want to be shy and talk about how much did you know about that company before you went in on the interview? And how about you?
I had an interview at the University that Houston, and my aunt, she actually worked down there. She was just like know something about the company, so I kind of crammed like the night before. And then when I went to do the interview, next thing I kind of said that I didn't know, but he was impressed with the information that I did know.
Right.
Questions that I didn't know, I was kind of nervous about it. Didn't think I could get it.
Right. That's the biggest thing is, I cannot tell you how many people will walk into an interview and they know nothing about the company and or the top individuals of that company. That is the biggest thing, and it's one of the questions we as HR people or hiring managers, we ask is, so tell me what you know about us. That's a question we're trained to ask, and I can't tell you how many ones that are right out of college go, well, I know you produce a newspaper. Like, duh. You know, you got to know the market. You've got to show that you're interested in it, and you got to make that investment in time. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not willing to make that investment on the front end before the interview, why should they hire you? Because they're not sure you're going to do that later on. When they ask for a little extra because something's happening, you have to make the investment. So never ever go into an interview without checking out the website of the company, knowing who the top executives are. You can go to our website. I'm going to show you how to look at key individuals. The best thing you can ever do is, I gave you a section called Best Places to Work, is to learn a little bit about the culture. You want to know about the executive. How many of you guys, did anybody read Steve Jobs' book, the bestseller? Okay. Anyone know about Steve Jobs and his attitude? Okay, Steve Jobs, people loved him, but they loved to hate him. And what you got to think about is, do you want to work for that kind of guy who's going to tell you after you work so hard on something that that's the worst thing he's ever seen? Or do you want someone who really lifts you up and pumps you up as a leader? There's different leaders in the world, and you've got to decide, is that the kind of person you want to work with? Think about it. You're going to spend most of your waking hours with these people, and you've got to believe in them, and they've got to believe in you. And you've got to know what kind of person you are. Again, take a look inside before you start the interviewing process and go find your job. Are you what we call high need for approval? That you need someone to go, "Hey boy, good job, good job." Are you that one looking for approval, or are you the one that don't recognize me, don't publicly recognize me, I'm good, I got this. And if I know I did good and you tell me, hey, good job, quietly, I got it. You got to find out what kind of person are you and what kind of manager runs that company, because they'll change everything that you do, the type of people, and more or less than anything, how happy are you going to be? Because if you're not happy, you're going to leave, they're going to feel your frustration, and it ain't going to work long term. Okay, what's next? Go to the Business Journal site. I'm going to show you where this is, how to look at archives, how to search for a company. We have companies back from 2009 to the present, how to find information. I will encourage you, once I show you how to do this, go get a file. Any company you're really serious in, you should be watching now. You should already be targeting them. You should be watching them on a regular basis now. Also, pay close to, for the attention of like acquisitions, mergers, layoffs, things of that nature. At University of Houston, I was at a job fair there, and we actually had where there was a company there. It was one of the oil and gas companies. They were there. They just laid off 500 people in Houston, and they were on our front page for it. That they just had a massive layoff. But here they are at that job fair with a booth, trying to recruit students. Well, students come over to my booth and see the front headline of the paper and go, they're right over there. What are they doing if they just laid off all these people? And the manager came over to me and said, can you guys get this front page down? You're killing us over here. And I said, I can. It's our front page. It's kind of our promo we brought. But what's going on? You just laid off 500 and now you're at a job fair? Are you crazy? And basically what they said is, well, we laid off 500 in Houston, but we have a project outside of Houston that's what we're hiring for. And we're looking for that. But you should know that. You should also know about those companies that do things. I'm going to go back in time, which they're now called HP, but back in the day they were called Compact Computer. Now they're called HP. If you don't, I have no idea who Compact Computer is. They used to do something where they would hire thousands of people because they expected maybe about 20 to 30% to stick when it was all done. There are companies that do that think through that 90-day process and let me get through, and you need to know who those companies are and identify. Because there's ones that have trending patterns of mass hire, mass layoff, mass hire, mass layoff. If you're a person who doesn't like suddenly to be out there on the street and you thought you had this great job and now you don't, you want to watch. You want to know who those companies are. There's a handful of them out there still that do that. They do it all the time. And it's just part of their program. But know who they are and make sure you're not going into it one. Okay, what I want to do is introduce you to the Business Journal. I gave you guys a print edition, but technically you guys will be seeing everything in the digital format. This is basically our digital issue that you guys have full access to. What I want to show you is up here. Is this working? Oh, that doesn't work. Right up here, where you see search up there, you can actually go up there and search a company. And it will pull up every article. It'll go through all of our archives like you see here and pull up any article on that company that you've had in a period of time. You can then, it will take you to that issue once you click on it, print the page, and put it in your file. This is how you would prepare for an interview by going through our archive of information. This is an example of a lookup. This is Continental Airlines. As you see, it goes through every instance of where we have them. You'll click, print, and there you have it. You can produce a file very quickly. We also have things like My News. This is an area where I really encourage you to do something with. You can come in here and say, I want to search my company news. Like if you want BP. You can put BP in there and then you can put it under a watchdog system. Every morning it'll send you an email with all the news. Everywhere they appeared, anywhere they were in the news, it's going to send you those articles so you don't have to go search for them. In addition to this, we have something called a company profile. Company profile, basically what this will do is this is another way you look up a company. And it's going to give you every instance where they've appeared in every article. It's going to go through all the different cities, as you see, South Florida, Dallas, Dayton. Any of the cities where we've done articles, you can learn about the company. As this gentleman mentioned, knowing about the company, knowing what they were up to ahead of time is very important. Here was one, Hostess offers when they're the bankruptcy basics. You need to know if the company's in bankruptcy. You may not want to go to work for somebody who's in bankruptcy because you know what? They could get acquired usually, but not always. Executive profiles. We do the same thing here as you go into our executive profiles, and what you can do is look up a top executive, go in and learn about the executive. This is where you kind of learn what kind of person do you have that you're going to work with. I can tell you there's some key executives that, yeah, you're going to love their company, you're going to love how they operate, and there's others, they're not going to be as easy. They're going to be kind of tough to work with, and you've got to know that's the culture. There's also, when you come into like this, best places to work section that I gave you guys, we do these in most cities. This tells you who are the top companies to work for. And you've got to think about, if you want a company, there's a lot of these companies that hold regular outings for their staff. They take them to football games. They have parties. They have bring your kid to work day. That type of environment is always having a good time. If that's important to you, you need to know that type of company. Best places to work is going to be one of your key areas where you can look and find out what is the culture of a company. There's also a lot of companies who provide benefits like gym memberships because they want healthier workplaces, wellness programs. They might have a gym membership where you get a discount at a mass program for a big gym or group like the YMCA or something like that in town. Look for those type of companies, and if that's important to you, you may want to target them. A lot of people do. I cannot tell you how many people will target best places to work. Okay, people on the move. This is a section where we actually have people specific by industry that you can target a little bit. It'll have all their contact information and everything. So if you wanted to search for a certain company and see if you could find an HR director or someone you're trying to get to, this would be another easy way to do it, to see people on the move. We also have a job bank. How many of you guys have already started interviewing? I know there are a handful of seniors in here. Give me a hint. Any of the seniors started interviewing? No. Okay. Tell me, give me a shout out, don't be shy. How many of you guys that are seniors, when do you expect to start looking for a job?
After next semester.
After you graduate?
No, I won't be graduating.
Oh, wait,
But
you're
I
not.
have 19 hours and I've been working in the construction industry. And when you get an interview and they say you're hired,
You gotta
they
be there.
expect you there 45, 50 hours a week. And I have 19 hours of capstone class. So
I got you.
we can,
Okay. I got you. Well, if you're more on the accounting side, I understand what I understand the world he's gonna go into. It is very, they want you right then, and you're on site immediately. But if you're gonna be in accounting or anything like that, guess what they're doing right now? Guess what all these companies are doing right now? Most of them. If they're on an annual calendar budget. Budgeting. They are budgeting, and guess what they're doing right now? They're writing in new roles. And guess what they're hoping to do is hire people. If they love you, it doesn't matter that you're going to be available till May of next year. They're going to already start slotting you in and understanding, is there a place for you and how many new hires they're going to be going for. A lot of companies actually, if you're really close and want to go ahead and start early, you can actually get in around November, because once they get the budget approved, November, December, they'll go ahead and bring people on, get them going through the slow period of Christmas and everything, and then they're full force coming in January. But I'll tell you the average, what is it, you guys have possibly heard this before, that they tell you the amount of savings you should have aside while you're looking for a job? 6 months. So what does that tell you? How long does it take the average person to find a job? 6 months. But remember, that formula is based on someone who has a lot of experience, not someone who's right out of school just getting started in their career. So, what does that mean? Seniors graduating in May? Now is the time. You guys got to get on it. You should already be targeting people. You should be developing relationships, and you should start interviewing. It's okay to say to them, I'm not available till my finals or May 3rd or whatever, and May 10th is when I'd be available. That's fine. But the deal is, if they love you and they want you, there's certain companies that recruit from universities. That is the biggest part of what they do, and they're looking for the students to put in the budget for next year, and they're budgeting right now. By late November, 1 month from now, they're done. They're already done deciding and starting to think this. So don't wait and think, I'll graduate and I'll find a job. I can't tell you how many interns we have. Most of my interns on my staff have their MBAs. You're thinking, what are they doing working $10 an hour as an intern, and they've got their MBA? Because they can't find the jobs. Actually, they see the jobs, but the problem is the inexperience is what most of them are up against. There's too many people out there flooding the markets right now looking for jobs that there's not enough for the newer graduates. The best place to go is through your university career center to find that job. But do not wait. I'm telling you, we've got a ton of interns who will come with us as a newspaper or a media operation because they know they just want us on the resume, get their feet wet. That's another point I want to make. How many of you guys have interned? Okay. Anyone over here? If you have not worked at all beyond retail or something like that, and you're wanting to go into a true hardcore B2B environment, go do an internship. The rule is now, the law says they have to be paid. So if someone says it's a free internship, no, that's not legal. Not anymore, it's not. So make sure you should probably get around $10 an hour, is usually pretty standard. Go get an internship just so that you have work experience. There are people who work with college students, they have mentorship programs. Go get something on your resume, because if not, saying, hey, I was Alpha Chi, or I was this or that, that's cool, but that doesn't do anything. And you need to make sure you get a little something on the resume. But one of the things you can do when you start looking is go into our job bank. You come in and you can look up by accounting firms, law firms, whatever you want, and it'll show you what's out there on the market. Again, be cautious with all the online stuff. Between LinkedIn, Career Builder, and all these things, there's a ton of places that'll shove stuff to you. But remember, you're online with about 50 other people, because there's people who just go and blanket their stuff. And that's a huge challenge is, as a manager, I have to say, now is you find all your recruits through online systems now that you get so much stuff. And that we sometimes If they quickly, there's not keyword matches. And that's another thing. Do any of you guys study SEO? I'm talking in weird language. Okay. SEO is basically how you get keyword searches for the web. You need to make sure your resume has certain keywords and buzzwords in it that identify what you have, what your skill set is. Reason being is what these new systems do is they will take some of this stuff and they will match it for keyword search. And as long as you have 10 of their top keywords in there, you'll get through the pipeline. So you better make sure not, I'm good at spreadsheets. It doesn't say something like that, but it actually has the buzzwords for the accounting system because they're going to look for certain buzzwords and things. And that's going to be a filtration system that they're going to use. And if not, you don't even get through the filters of half the things for the online jobs now. So a little tip there. Here's what pay scale looks like. Have any of you guys been on this? Is anybody? A couple of you? Were you surprised? Yeah, this is the biggest shocker of all. You just sit and bring this up. This is an accounting person, and we are the West South Central U.S. region. The highest it's going to pay is $45,000. Does that shock anybody? That's on the high end. Okay, but you have to understand, this is more of a general bookkeeping, accounting, auditing clerk. And that's about $45,000. You realize that somebody probably has a little experience. Entry level is looking like it's probably about $32,000. This is where you're going to want to go in and find out what you're worth. Because I'll tell you, the worst thing you can say is, I'm worth, and we have a school that does this in Houston, I'm going to leave the school unnamed, who they tell their people, don't even take an interview for under 60. They tell their fresh graduates, don't take an interview. Certain companies like me say, I don't think you're worth 60. Not out of the gate, you're not worth 60. And there are a couple of companies willing to pay that, but usually they're called insurance companies. You need to work for it on commission. It's 100% commission. So be careful of walking in. Know what you're worth. Don't ask for too much and don't ask for too little. Don't cut yourself short. Because you know what? When you've been in college and you haven't made a whole lot of money, it's actually my nanny. She's now, she just finished school and she is just started now working as a professional teacher, but she's in a part-time kind of interim while she gets certifications. And they offered a job for $17,000 a year. And I looked at her and said, you just finished your degree, you're making $17,000 a year? She goes, yeah, I'm in the interim, but it's to get my foot in the door. Be careful because when you're making nothing, $17,000 might sound like a lot, but the reality, the starting positions for teaching in Houston are more around $45, $50. So she's got to be careful. She undercut herself a little bit. She's got to be very cautious now to get the Step Up program. Know what you're worth and make sure they don't undercut you. Events. We have a lot of events where we actually recognize top companies in their business. So be familiar with them. If you guys, do any of you guys come to Houston ever? Anyone from Houston? Okay. Dallas, Houston, all the major cities where we're at, we have a bunch of events. If you ever want to meet somebody in the top company, see if we produce a list when we have an event. Because you could actually go meet the CEO of the company. I usually tell a story. If you guys have been in my seminars before, you've heard me tell the story. My first job was in commercial real estate working for the Collins family. Collins are the ones that back in the day was big oil, Texas oil family with Quintana Petroleum. I got in the elevator with a gentleman, and I didn't know he was the CEO of the company. He was. And he just looked at me and said, hey, I see we're going to the same floor. And I said, yeah, I am. I'm actually going for an interview. I'm quite excited about it. And the reality was they called me back and said, you don't have the job. But you know what? He asked to see me. Pull me back in, and I got the job because the chairman. So make sure you know if you can meet these people. Sometimes you may be told by HR we have zero interest in you. But just because you shined in front of the right person, suddenly you could get an interview. That's why always put yourself in front of the right people who are the decision makers and see what happens. One of the things I talk about is kind of like that interview. The interview begins the moment you step out of the car. I'm going to tell you how many people I see come in to interview with us, and they come up to the front desk, and they think, of course I'm interviewing, they're not up here. So they're slouchy, they're playing on their phone, they're doing this, and they're slouching over. Don't do that. Your interview begins the moment you step out of that car. You don't know who you're going to run into or what's going to happen. Turn your phone off the minute you get out of the car. Trust me, the job is more important than the call you're probably about to take or the instant messaging or whatever. Turn the phone off, put it away. Don't sit there in the front reception area. Another thing is, don't be rude to that receptionist. One of the things that I used to do is I used to actually leave people up there for 5 minutes to see how they were. And if they were rude to our receptionist up at the front, they weren't getting a job with me. Because if they had a bad attitude and they didn't even work there yet, I couldn't imagine once the honeymoon was over what we'd be dealing with. You need to be very aware that everybody in that company is going to help sell you. Because the first thing I'd walk out to the receptionist when they left, I go, so what'd you think? How was their attitude? What was their demeanor like? Did they come in? Did they engage in conversation? Did they ask about the company? What did they want to know? So make sure the moment you step out of that car, turn the cell off, get your head in the game. Remember, first impressions are everything. They make all the difference in the world. What do they see? Sit up straight. Dress appropriately for the interview. When I say that, know who your target is. It's kind of a sales talk. You know what? It's kind of like me. Usually we're kind of stodgy sometimes at the journal. We sit in all black suits. We do a lot of the all black suit thing. Who's my audience? Students. I'm dressing a little hipper. I'm going to try to be a little professional, but a little bit more hip. Know your audience. Who are you going to meet with? What are you going to do? You got to think about that. If you're meeting with the tech firm and these guys are in flip-flops and shorts, don't necessarily go in flip-flops and shorts, but you don't want to go in a full tie, everything maybe. You want to marry down to what you think what their market is. So be cautious. You're interviewing with an accounting firm. Ladies, I hate to admit this, but accounting and law, yes, they still wear pantyhose. Not tights, pantyhose. You have to realize some of these markets, these are what they expect. It's in something that they expect you to do. You want to wear blue and black. Know the market, know how they dress. Technology, those are the conservative guys. They drive my publisher crazy because they're always in shorts and t-shirts, walking around like they own the place, and it makes them nuts. But make sure you know that, be familiar with them. Always arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early. If you're arriving right on time, that's never a good thing. Get there early because you never know, parking, maybe security has to sign you in downstairs, especially with oil and gas companies. You're going to have to go through security, get a pass, and they have to get someone to take you up. Get there early for that. Also bring your resume. I can't tell you how many people I interview in this day and age. Oh, I sent it to you. So, you can assume I have it. Bring a resume. Bring a nice, crisp, clean resume. Another thing I always preach about is go to Office Depot or whatever, Staples, whatever store, and make a business card. Doesn't matter that you're not with the company yet. Make a business card for yourself. And make it with your contact information and put your degrees in. Maybe put a bullet point of what are your skill sets on the back of it. And be prepared to present that to anyone, any day, anywhere. Someone asks you, hey, and you say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Here's my business card. I'd love to talk with you. You want to talk about making an impression on someone? That's going to do it. And that might be in a line at Starbucks or whatever. You might just be in a simple line somewhere and run across the right person. But make sure you've got your materials, get your resume. Also bring a pen and paper. I can't stand people who they slouched in an interview and they're like tuned out. Take notes. Ask good questions. Go in with at least 5 questions on your notepad that you intend to ask. Be careful of the questions. They need to be ones that show you're engaged in the company. Also be prepared for the questions they're going to ask you. One of the biggest questions I think that's most common is where you want to be in 5 years from now. Another one that you might have, is there anything that could limit you from doing this job? Be careful. That's a trick question. The deal is what they're doing is trying to make sure there's nothing that they don't want to know about. Don't go, sometimes my back hurts when I wake up in the morning. Be cautious with stuff like that. Don't talk about dirty laundry. Don't put that stuff out in the interview. You have to be very clean, very crisp. Be prepared for a couple of trick questions like that are kind of there to find out, is there anything that we need to know or any compliance issues that they need to deal with, that they'll have to deal with, which some companies are absolutely fine with. Most are. So just be prepared and answer the questions direct. Don't ramble. If you can't answer it in 2 sentences, Be cautious, you're rambling. You get 2 sentences most to get to the point. So get your thoughts together for a second, put a couple of keywords down, make a sentence, and that's your response. And always ask them if they're like, They say, did I appropriately address your question? Ask them that back. But remember, more than anything, if they do the right job, they're going to get you to talk. But never forget, people talk their stuff in sales. People talk their stuff into buying stuff. They get so excited about something. So sometimes, if you can say to them, tell me about your company. What do you love most about it? They'll get so pumped up with you in that room that they're talking about the company. Oh, this is the greatest place ever. Let me tell you about it. They're closing themselves, and they feel great the moment you leave because you just made them get on this little high about how they feel about everything. So never forget, ask them, how do you feel? What do you love about this company the most? How long have you been here? And watch them talk a little bit. In sales, that's how you close deals. Let them talk, and they'll close themselves. They'll talk themselves right into the whole deal. You just sit there and ask a couple of questions. It's called open probing. There's open and closed probing that you do. So ask them that. See if they get excited and they lighten up, and let them talk a little bit. Because they're going to try to get you to talk the whole time. Let them talk a little bit. Biggest thing is also that I will tell you is the simplest thing is smile. Don't slouch, sit up straight. Smile. Maintain eye contact. When you shake a hand, if you don't do it already, if you do this now, you look at the hand, I want you to fix that. You never shake a hand without looking that person deep in their eyes. It's like you're going to see straight through their soul. And hi, here's who I am. Because that's going to show the firmness of who you are, and it shows a confidence level. Even if you don't have it, it's going to show when I need to be put on stage, here I am. You look them straight in the eye and shake their hand. All conversations, no negative talk. I don't care if you work to a really bad place. And if it is a competitor that they hate and they'd love to talk negative stuff, you always keep everything up positive and upbeat. You stay a very positive person. Here's where you go into your closing. You have to ask, when do you intend to make a hiring decision? You want to close the deal and ask them, how soon do they intend to hire? Then what you want to do is ask for the job. You have to say, you know what? I see my skill set and some of the things I can bring to the table for your company, and I think I'd be a great fit and asset for this company, and I love this position. You need to ask for the job and tell them you're interested. I can't tell you how many people walk out that I'm going, so what do you think? Give me feedback. Go ahead and give them feedback. If you want that job, ask for it. Say, I think this is a great company, and I fit in well here, and it'd be great. So when you're making a hire decision, I'd love to come on board. Make a statement like that about hiring and close that deal. See if you can get a closure on it. And talk about when you're available to start. You know, that's the biggest thing is how soon are you able to start? Another thing is, I can't tell you how many people walk out of there and they never get the business card of the hiring manager and all the contact information. Remember, if you just came through LinkedIn, you have nothing on this person. Do not walk out of there without saying, do you have a business card or something I could get to contact you? Because you're going to want to follow up with a note and some things. So get the business card. Don't walk away, especially if you came through online. What I want to encourage you guys to do is get some of our newsletters. If you guys want to stay up to current information, this is probably one of the best ways to do it at the Journal is to find out who are these companies, what are they doing, what are the hip things that are happening right now. And just staying connected, because that's the biggest thing is you guys got to get your head in who are the players. What's it like out there in the market? I used to tell all of my new young hires the same thing. Every morning when you get ready, turn on the business news. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, whatever you choose. Turn that on and have that in the background and listen to what the market's. Is the market up? Is it down? Who's impacting the market that day? Know the markets, know what talk and things are starting to be like. What's the chatter sound like? Okay, basically with our journals you can access anything from newspapers, book of lists, companies, profiles, and all kind of information on executives. We're actually at 43 cities. We've added a few more through the web, like we've got Chicago and LA and some others we're adding right now. As I mentioned, get the business card of the person you're meeting with. Heather, how many of you guys are on social media? Okay. How many of you guys are on Facebook? LinkedIn? Okay, everybody needs to be on business school LinkedIn. That's where business happens. How many of you guys consider LinkedIn, more specifically, consider that a resume page? Okay, you should. I only see one person raising their hand over here. LinkedIn technically should be a resume. Do not put a whole lot of personal stuff on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your B2B. Use Facebook and Twitter is your more personal, but lock them down. I'm going to tell you that some of the stuff that you think is the coolest stuff since sliced bread that you put on there with photos, if that's open to the public, that can keep you from getting hired. You'll be amazed. You guys are of a generation where everything you do is on the web. You'd be amazed how I can learn about a person. I can learn detailed information. And I can tell you I cannot hire people, and I've gotten quickly someone I was in love with away from them because I saw a photo or something that probably wasn't real appropriate, and I knew that they may not have the best business decision for putting that out there, realizing me as an employer, I could get to it. Yeah, the wild parties, the drinking, the whatever. Keep that stuff where it's not on the front lines that people are going to be looking at, because you know what they train us to do as hiring managers? Go look for it. So first thing I get a stack of resumes before I make a phone call, and you know what I'm on? I'm on every single one of those, and I'm looking. I'm looking at all of them. And I'm seeing what kind of person does this look like? What does that photo look like? What have they been up to? Are they open or are they closed? I try to go to usually Facebook and LinkedIn. Facebook's going to give you the personal, LinkedIn's going to give you the other, so be cautious.
Do you want to see something on Facebook though? Me personally, I'm not even on Facebook or Twitter.
Yes.
I don't social media, but I'm gonna have one simply just so if someone types in my name, they can see it.
Yeah.
Do you want to see it just to know we can use it? Or?
LinkedIn should be a resume. You should have a resume up on LinkedIn.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about Facebook or Twitter.
Facebook, not so much. Not so much. Facebook, I think, is seen as a little bit more personable. Instagram, more personable. Twitter, same thing. Just be aware. LinkedIn is where people do business. That's what they're going to look for on the B2B front. But just be very cautious what you guys are putting out there. I cannot tell you the amount of kids these days who go out there and put junk all over the place on the web. And it's just not appropriate stuff. You're thinking, well, I want this person representing my company. Probably not. And you got to be aware when you're going to job interview, a lot of people, what I see in trending patterns today, a lot of people actually, if they don't want to be profiled or misjudged, they actually take photo down. And a lot of people do not put their address anymore on their, they only have an email address and their name. There's no address and there's no photos because they don't want to be seen as anything. They want to be judged for the skill set. You see trending patterns like that are happening right now that are very interesting. And I hate that because I can't get a feel for what's this person into. But I'll start Googling them, go through Google algorithms and see, can I find something, special groups they're a part of or something. It gives me a feel of how they might lead or they might do something. But I spend literally a lot of time with the resume before I even pick up the phone, just on the web looking for photos and information on a person. And you guys are in the information age, it's all out there. So be very aware of what you put out there. How many of you guys have to write a marketing plan in school? Do you guys have to write marketing plans? Okay, remember, what you put out there in your photos for anything is what you're marketing to the public. Is that what you want? I mean, do you want to be seen and cool in front of your friends? That's fine. But when you're marketing to businesses, you got to think about what would you want a business to see you as and market it appropriately. We talked about the internships. Also, we talked about don't wait. Be careful with the job search taking too long. Pretty much most of you guys that are graduates, I mean, if mom and dad are going to send you to Europe for the summer, okay, I get it. I know people do that. But if not, if you intend to really be working right after you graduate in May, and that's your intention, you need to be working on it now. Really, right now, you need to already start. It's going to take you, if and all that long. And if a company loves you, they're going to wait. Don't worry about that. They're going to wait for a new graduate and someone they can bring up. So don't worry about, oh, but I'm not officially out of school yet. That's okay. That's okay. If you're close and you're right at the end, you've got a little bit more time here. It's okay to wait a bit. But start targeting this company. At least know what kind of company, what kind of industry, and maybe what city you want to target. As I say, the farmer who plants the seeds who reaps the harvest. I mean, this is, you got to plant your future. You got to grow it. You got to develop it and invest in it, and that's the biggest thing is you can't go, oh, I'm going to go get a job, and it just happens. You've got to really make a plan and invest in it to do it right, because I'll tell you what, if not, you'll get with one company, you might go to another, and suddenly you're how many years into your career, and you're never where you wanted to be. And you got to look back at yourself and say, did I plan appropriately? And that's the biggest thing is you've got to plan. It's like nothing different in life. You got to set a goal and say, by this time in my life, I want to be at this point. And what are the stages or what are the steps I'm going to have to do to get there for it? What we did this year, we're changing things a little bit up. We used to have it where the portal for accessibility of information used to be where you had to be on campus to get it. But what we've done is, if you guys pass these around, we've opened it up where now is you just go through these links here. What this will do is this will get you in to all the Business Journal info. So if you guys are going on an interview or maybe doing a project, then you can come straight in here. This will take you in through the outside, so you don't have to be here anywhere near campus. Just use that link. And they'll take you inside the portal. I think those of you guys who were here saw the portal. That's what the portal looks like for you guys to get in. Or no, that's not it. This is the portal here. You know, it is the portal for the HPJ. That's not it. It's okay. You guys have it. This will take you in and give you access to all of our content and everything so you can research. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody? You can do internships through summer. A lot of companies will do them just through summer, and they call them summer internship programs. We have 2 or 3 positions that we open up just in summer for that period that they're students. You can look for those, or even holiday internships if you're basically in school. But most of the internships, if you say I can only work 15 hours a week, they'll give you 15 hours a week. You just need to get something on a resume. That's the biggest key.
Could you give an example of a question that we should ask the company? Like, what kind of question would you want to be asked?
What kind of question for you as the interviewer?
Yeah, for me as an interviewer. Should you ask?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Which
yeah, if I'm being interviewed, what kind of question should I ask?
Should you ask about the company? I think the one that I gave that gets them talking about what do you love most about this company? Or what makes you so passionate about this company or this product? Because they're going to sit, and if they really love their product and their company, they're going to be so excited about it. And that's what you want to do is get them excited, where they're like giddy almost, like, because they love what they do and they're giddy about it. And then you go, oh wow, that seems great. You know, you seem to really have a passion for this. I can imagine how great it would be to be on your team. You make a statement back when you're starting to close them. I'd love to be on your team. You're so passionate about what you do. I can see it. You're suddenly now, you're playing to them and you're saying things, but get them to talk about themselves a little bit and their products. You know, sometimes also, if you get any sideline talk, oh, I see you have 2 kids. Let them talk about children. Let them talk a little bit about the things that they may really, really love to get a little bit of excitement factor lifted up. But you can also ask about how many people do they intend to hire? You know, of course, the one I said, when you tend to make hiring decisions. Other places they may, well, you don't want to ask about where they're based. Think about just things about the company. You have to be careful about, don't ask economic questions or the financial stability of the company. Don't ask questions like that. You should know that by doing your research beforehand. That's the biggest thing is also if there's training. The biggest thing employers love to learn, do you want more training? Do you want to grow and learn? Show them saying, do you have a training program or is there ways that we can learn more through time? You might find through asking a simple question like that they're willing to pay for a whole MBA. You'll find actually companies who will say, oh yeah, we have great, we'll send you to this school and that school, and then also we'll be willing to pay for an MBA if you go after hours. So if you can ask about that, about learning and growing with the company. So this shows you're interested in long term. Any other questions? Hey, any feedback? Did you guys learn anything new? Why are you guys being shy? Well, hopefully this gave you some good insight. The biggest thing is, remember, interviewing is a very hard thing. It seems so easy, and no one really teaches on this stuff, what you've got to do prepare, but it's really a hard thing, and you only get one shot. Most companies you get 1 or 2 interviews usually. Also, if you guys get a chance, if you're going to be anywhere near sales, is there anyone here going to go into sales? Anyone? Okay. You need to be very familiar with what's called the sales profile. You need to do the DISC and all the ones and understand who you are, because they're going to test you. A lot of companies use testing methods, and you have to test as a salesperson, or you wouldn't even get through. We're one of those companies. Everybody comes through. There are companies, vocational companies as well. They'll test you certain skill sets. You don't have it, you're not getting through. You're eliminated by third party before you even come through. So just be prepared for that if you're going to get into a certain area. Same thing if you're going to be anything technical, information systems technology, you may be tested. They may say, what program language do you write me code? Be prepared for that. So I think that's it. Well, thank you guys for coming.